right here at the Worcester Hall Secondary School. Now, just before the event gets underway, with me is the Permanent Secretary with responsibility for youth development in the Ministry of Youth Sports and the Youth Sports Culture and the Arts, Mr. Norman Gilbert. Good to see you. Welcome to this preview of St. David's Youth Parliament right here at Worcester Hall Secondary School. So, your expectations for today?
Yes, President, good day, Kenroy. I think today we are going to be seeing a very wonderful debate by the young persons from St. David's. In fact, it's been well over 10 years since we've had a youth parliament in the constituency of St. David's. Today we would have a debate amongst young people as they express their views on national insurance policy in relation to, one, the extension of the age for retirement, and as well as the increasing expected contributions. Government has given its commitment, and it's clear in terms of being able to increase the contributions effective January. And I believe it's important to hear the young person's opinion in terms of what are their views. Though they are young and they are not yet ready to retire, of course, but it would have some impact in terms of how they plan their lives and how they plan for retirement. And so coming out of today's debate, we are going to be hearing the suggestions from the young people in terms of what are the opinions in regards to increasing the age as well as increasing the financial contributions. They in turn will be able to share with their families, their parents, etc. At home, and at least they'll be able to bring the information to the family, and we'll have persons become more knowledgeable of those issues so that they can make better decisions. In fact, when we look at persons who retire, many persons retire without having a plan in place, not only financial, but in terms of how they are going to be living in those years. And I believe that the input of the young people would give a kind of sense of where we are as young people and how we view the whole issue of retirement and preparation for retirement, but even more so to contributing to some retirement scheme that they can eventually benefit from when they get to that age.
Okay, well, thank you so very much. And just to give you a sense that the resolution for the Youth Parliament, be it resolved that the Youth Parliament endorses government's proposal to increase the collective contribution rate of both employers and workers from 9% to 11%.
Responsibility for youth development. Mr. Norman Gilbert, Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts with responsibility for youth development. Mr. Royden Bihari, Acting Coordinator of Youth Development. Community Youth Officers are the members of staff, Mrs. Janice Francis, Human Resource Manager, and her team from the National Insurance Board. Our National Youth Parliamentarians are the specially invited guests, participants of the St. David's Youth Parliament. Our dear friends and partners of the media fraternity, namely the Government Information Service, GIS, Mikey Live and Kenroy Batiste Media, who are carrying this event live via social media platforms. It is my privilege and honor to welcome you to the St. David's Youth Parliament on this 30th day of July 2019 at the prestigious Worcester Hall Secondary School. We must be reminded that Grenada has been blessed with 7 beautiful parishes, and as such, this is our 3rd parish sitting for the year 2019. Previously, we held the St. Andrew and St. Patrick Parliaments just a few weeks ago. Allow me to share also that the 2nd national sitting for 2019 was held at the House of Parliament on July 12th. The 3 main objectives of the Parish Youth Parliament are to allow youth the opportunity to engage in a pseudo-sitting of Parliament on a parish level, to provide a platform for youth to develop in matters of national interest, to become exposed to the democratic process. And also, the Parish Youth Parliament is allowed an opportunity for participants to debate on the national, regional, and even international level. The St. David's parliamentarians spent a few weeks in training, and although there were a few challenges, We are here today to witness the efforts and sacrifices they made as goodly citizens of Grenada. I, of course, express my admiration to the St. David's team. This team consists of 17 members. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to remind us of some basic house rules that we must, of course, follow. No unnecessary outbursts before and during the session. Put all of your mobile devices on silent or vibrate. No unnecessary movements. And I am referring to standing or moving in and out of the room, as this may, of course, distract our dear members of the House. No eating is allowed. However, you are encouraged to stay hydrated. The restrooms are located on the lower floor to your left. And at this time, let us all stand as we sing our national anthem. Thank you. You may now have your seats. And do enjoy the rest of today's proceedings. I thank you.
Let us pray. Guide, we beseech thee, Almighty God, members of this honorable house, that they may wisely deliberate for the good of this country and for the glory of thy holy name. Please join with me as we say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pray, be seated. This honorable house is now in session.
I am advised by proclamation that the first Parish Youth Parliament of St. David's parliamentarians duly appointed should meet and transact their business in this house on this 30th day of July 2019. I am further advised by the proclamation that the affairs of this youth parliament will be conducted with wisdom, temper, and prudence, and that upon all occasions the rights of all citizens and members will be respected and recognized.
Honorable members, I am not unmindful of the honor which you have conferred on me today in electing me to the highest of office, that of your Speaker and your servant. It will be my aim and duty to uphold the principles and traditions of this House and to secure for each member the right to express his or her opinions within the limits necessary to preserve the decorum of this House. I pledge to recognize the rights and privileges of the honorable members and the House itself. I wish also to assure you that I will preside in a manner which will facilitate the transaction of debate in an orderly manner, and above all, I will seek to be fair and impartial in the decisions, the rules of Parliament and yourself entrust to me.
Confirmation of minutes. Announcements by Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, let me remind you now that you should be guided by the rules governing the sitting of this House. Be mindful of these rules and other standing orders before you as we proceed in today's sitting.
Resolutions.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to move for the adoption of the following resolution standing in my name. Whereas the National Insurance Scheme is a form of social security for workers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, and it is mandated by the National Insurance Act to enable workers to obtain a pension after retirement. And whereas Section 22 of the National Insurance Act provides for triennial actual reviews to be conducted with focus on the financial condition of the fund and as to whether contributions adequately support the benefits and other liabilities payable with a view of meeting the needs of the population. And whereas such reviews were conducted over the years and have found the annual contributions insufficient to pay annual expenditure. And whereas from 2016, the board has been required to rely on investment income by withdrawing increasing amounts from the reserve fund such that by the year 2035, it is anticipated that the reserve fund will be fully consumed. And whereas the actuaries have recommended and the government proposes to implement changes to the National Insurance Fund to ensure the sustainability of the fund in order to avoid bankruptcy and in order to preserve the fund's ability to adequately provide social security coverage for its workers. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Youth Parliament of the St. David's Parish endorse the government's proposal to gradually increase the national retirement age of workers from 60 to 65 years, and be it further resolved that this Youth Parliament endorses government proposal to increase the collective contribution rate of both employers and workers from 9% to 11%.
The question proposed is that the Youth Parliament of the Parish of St. David endorses the recommendation to gradually increase the national retirement age, that's the NRA, from 60 to 65 years, and further endorses the recommendation to increase the contribution rate from 9% to 11%. Honorable Prime Minister, you may proceed.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand here today as leader of the government, and it gives me great honor in saying that we, the members of the government, are on board with the resolution put forward by the NIS. Madam Speaker, before you I have a very capable team who have spent countless hours, days even, in preparing and will no doubt supply the evidence that is needed as to why such a resolution will be beneficial to our people. Madam Speaker, they will also eradicate any misconceptions put forward by the oppositions, as well as any discrepancies. Here, as Minister of Finance, National Security, Home Affairs, and Economic Affairs, as well as Prime Minister of this lovely nation, it is indeed an honor to be able to discuss such a pertinent issue in this honorable House. Now, Madam Speaker, I am not a rocket scientist. And if I were to be a rocket scientist, I believe that at this very juncture, I would be on the moon. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist, Madam Speaker, to state and to show that the life here in Grenada is a lot harder now than it was 50 to 60 years ago. And Madam Speaker, while the opposition may use such a situation to argue their stance, and while I must say that there is some truth to such a notion, it is in fact that in these times that we as a people must first cast the stone and make the necessary investments to ensure a safe and secure future despite minor sacrifices. Madam Speaker, as I continue, Grenada is among the lowest in regards to its contribution rates. As stated in the sustainability plan put forward by the NIS, if I may be permitted to quote.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Antigua and Bermuda has a contribution rate of 13%, and this will increase by 0.5% up to the year 2025. Dominica has a contribution rate of 12.75%, and this will also increase by 0.25% each year up to 2031. St. Kitts is at 11%, St. Vincent and the Grenadines 10%, Barbados 23.85% in the private sector, Anguilla 10%, and St. Lucia 10%. However, Madam Speaker, it burns my heart that Grenada is at 9%. End of quote. Madam Speaker, the first thing that can be seen is that all of the countries have contribution rates of at least 10%. And some, just as our nation, are looking into the possibility of increasing the contribution rates. Now tell me, is doing such a crime? In that we take out from our people? Or is it that we are helping them to make proper investments, Madam Speaker, investments so that they can reap the benefits? Madam Speaker, the NIS has many benefits to which a mere 9% cannot fully cover. Madam Speaker, some of these benefits are sickness, survivors, invalidity, funeral, employment injury, maternity, and yes, the pension. Now, with so much benefits and such a small contribution, does the opposition expect the NIS to continue working miracles? Madam Speaker, now I know that it may be strenuous on some of our workers or on some of the lower income workers, and the opposition will probably state such and use such against us. But their contribution, Madam Speaker, will only raise by 1%, which will bring it up to 5%, whereas the employer will pay 6%. And if we add this up, Madam Speaker, 5 plus 6 will give us 11%. And like I said, the workers only pay 5% of such. Madam Speaker, according to the IMF, Grenada is among the lowest in the Caribbean countries in regards to the age of retirement and pension. All other Caribbean countries have a retirement age well above 16. According to the Sustainability Plan, once again, if I may be permitted to quote.
You are granted permission.
Thank you. Antigua and Bermuda has a retirement age of 62, and this will increase up to 65 by the year 2025. Dominica has a retirement age of 64, and this will also increase to the age of 65 in 2021. St. Kitts has a retirement age of 62. St. Vincent, a retirement age of 62. And this will also increase to 65 by the year 2028. Barbados has a retirement age of 67. St. Lucia has a retirement age of 65. End of quote. Now, Madam Speaker, times have changed a lot. Medical procedures as well as medical technology has increased, Madam Speaker, over the years. And as such, my Minister of Health will delve into such a matter in her or in their presentation. Well, Madam Speaker, are we saying that we, as a nation, who boast of their strength, their health, their fortitude, that at 60, we become too weak suddenly to be able to work past such an age? Or is it that the opposition is saying, and God forbid, that we are a lazy nation? Madam Speaker, if that's the path the opposition wants to bring us down, a path whereby once again we as a people cannot move forward and further develop ourselves, or is it that we must remain uncultured or as stagnant water, Madam Speaker, dead? But there are a couple of things to point out. This increase in the pension age from 6 to 65 years, just as the resolution would have stated, is gradual. And gradual, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, may be defined as something happening or changing slowly over a period of time. In fact, this change will occur over a period of 13 years. Additionally, the option to retire at 60 will still be there, Madam Speaker. It will still be there. This just goes to show that the NIS and the government are not inhumane people, but we still care for our people, just as we look out for them. If a person chooses to retire before their retirement age, the pension, however, will be reduced by 0.5% each month earlier than their normal retirement age. However, if they choose, Madam Speaker, to retire after the normal retirement age, they will gain, or they will have an additional 0.5% added for each and every month they go above the normal retirement age. So, Madam Speaker, with such an incentive, it seems a bit inconceivable for the opposition to not want our people to benefit from such a plan. Madam Speaker, just as in 1974, when Grenada gained its independence and was recognized by the entire world as an independent nation, there are persons opposing such a change, stating that it will not be beneficial to our people. Madam Speaker, so it appears that the opposition is in such a standing, just as these people. And in closing, as Proverbs 29:18 states, if I may be permitted to quote,
You may do so.
where there is no vision, the people perish. End of quote. And Madam Speaker, we the government have a vision of a brighter future, of a more lucrative future for our people, for our nation. And as such, we refuse to let them perish. Thank you.
Are there any further contributions to the motion, to the resolution? Honorable Danica Williams, you may proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to second the resolution. As mentioned by the Prime Minister, we, the members of the government, are for the motion proposed. We are of the view that the increase of both the retirement age and contributions will most certainly be beneficial to our country and its people. Madam Speaker, in our communities, there are a great number of persons who at age 60 are not ready for retirement, who are strong and capable of still working. And so the increase of the age of retirement to 65 will allow these persons to continue working. On the other hand, there are others who at age 60 are not capable of working anymore. And so the option of retiring at 60 will still be available for these persons after the age has been increased. The increase in the age will also allow persons who at age 60 or close to 60 and have loans to pay off or in debts more time to pay off these debts. The increase in the age the increase in the age will be done gradually, increasing by 1 every 2 years until it reaches 65 in 2032. So this change will not affect persons who are planning to retire in the next 2 years. Madam Speaker, over the years, the cost of living has been and still continues to rise, and as a result, the value of money has been decreasing. Madam Speaker, the value of $5 today was not the same 20 years ago and will not remain the same in the next 20 years. And the same way the contributions being made today will not have the same value in the next 20 to 30 years. While the value of money continuously decreases, the cost of medication, food, and everything surrounding us is constantly increasing. And as a result, there is a need for the rise in the contributions being made by workers. According to the IMF paper According to the IMF work paper, National Insurance Scheme Reform in the Caribbean 2016, the contributions income has already fallen short of total expenditure in some countries and will do so in the next 3 years in other countries, which reflects the ongoing growth and physical changes. Similarly, in the NIS actual findings of the 11th review, it was found that since 2016, the annual contributions made has not been sufficient to meet the total expenditure, and as a result, the investment income has to be used to cover the shortfalls. It was also found that by the year 2022, the total income will not be sufficient to cover the total expenses and will lead to the NS becoming bankrupt. Madam Speaker, it is not only us making these changes. In fact, many other countries regionally have either gone through these changes already or are in the process of doing so. Those who have already gone through these changes are comfortable paying our
Honorable
benefits.
Member for Rukin, might I remind you that there should be no reading in this Honorable House.
Okay, miss.
And Honorable Member, please note that when the Speaker addresses you, you're supposed to take your seat. You may proceed.
With our economy becoming one of us, with our economy being one of a similar nature to other countries regionally and one of the fastest growing economy in the region, we can surely say that we will have similar results and avoid bankruptcy. Madam Speaker, where a horse reach, a donkey must reach. Madam Speaker, may I be please permitted to quote?
You may do so.
According to Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. End of quote. Together, we can secure our tomorrow. I thank you.
Are there any other members wishing to contribute to the debate? Honorable Tamaya Monroe, you may proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, why is this government trying to solve their problems by using we the people, we the laborers, to dig deeper into our pockets to contribute more to a problem that they initiated? Madam Speaker, it is this same said government that in 2012 requested a loan from the NIS of over $10 million. And to this day, it has not been repaid. Madam Speaker, moreover, they have requested a haircut in 2014. Madam Speaker, has the NIS become a cash
I stand on a
cow?
point of clarity.
Honorable Member for Pomeroy,
Madam Speaker,
you are supposed to wait to be acknowledged by the Speaker. Please take your seat. Now let's try that again. Honorable Member for Pomeroy,
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand on a point of clarity.
please state your point of clarity.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I would like to ask my worthy opponent to state the government that was in office in 2014. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, government
Honorable Tamaya Monroe, you may respond to the question posed by the member for Pomeroy.
Madam Speaker, government comes, government goes. It is the government's responsibility when they are in power to deal with the issues at hand. Madam Speaker, has the NIS become a cash cow for the government to do with it whatever they please, especially in their times of financial difficulties? It has become a trend that needs to be stopped. This is the reason that there's not enough money to pay pensioners. The NIS is going broke because of government's interference. The NIS is not a bank or a lending institution, and it should not be used as such. It is being erroneously converted into one, and that is a very dangerous precedent that the government is setting. Madam Speaker, in order for the NIS to be viable and maintain its viability, it has to remain independent and above the long fingers of the government, which has been using this scheme as a bailout for their financial woes. Madam Speaker, moreover, the NIS has invested millions of dollars in investments in the failed British American insurance company, and it had to be written off. Madam Speaker, on a monthly basis, both worker and employer make sacrifices and pay their contributions, which is synonymous to putting aside something for rainy days, especially in the times when we cannot work anymore. Is it fair to them? Is it fair to us workers that in the future our pension has to be in jeopardy because of government's interference? Madam Speaker, if the NIS and the government are looking to bail out of their shortcomings, the best alternative is to pay your debt. Madam Speaker, it saddens me to see how self-centered this government is in regards to the solutions to the problems and how it benefits them. Madam Speaker, they repeat over and over that we are a government for the people. But have they really sat and thought about how the people will be affected by this move? Madam Speaker, raising the contribution from 9 to 11% without any shift of salary means that we have to take out of what we do not have. Madam Speaker, what about the people who have a tight budget at the end of the month? Is this government trying to imply that we should put our people at a disadvantage to solve the problems that could have been avoided if they were not involved? Madam Speaker, let's take, for example, Mary. Mary is a single parent with 3 children, one attending primary school, the other secondary, and the final one tertiary education. Mary earns $2,000 a month. Her NIS is $80. She is left with $1,920. This is allocated towards her rent, food, and also basic necessities such as school supplies, medication, and bus fare. She is left with nothing to save. Raising the contribution rate to 11% means that her contribution goes to $100. Though the government may see this $20 difference as small thing, we are now putting Mary in a situation where she is short of either food, shelter, or providing for her 3 children. And yet they say they are a government for the people. Madam Speaker, as the Prime Minister so eloquently said, life is harder now than it was years before. Moreover, the prices are continuously raising. Food, bills, rent, gas. Madam Speaker, with this, discretionary income is decreasing, putting people at a disadvantage. Madam Speaker, what is this government's motive on increasing the contribution rate without raising salaries? Raise the salary. More money coming in at the same 9%. Madam Speaker, our life expectancy rate is still 73. Madam Speaker, when will our hard-earned pension be able to When will we be able to enjoy our hard-earned pension? Other countries, such as St. Vincent, with an average life expectancy of 76, St. Lucia, 78, Dominica, 77, and Puerto Rico, 81, can make way to pension age increasing and their contribution rate increasing because they have more time to enjoy. Madam Speaker, this
Honorable Member for Bailey's Backlet, please take your seat. Honorable Member for Corinth.
Madam Speaker, I stand on a point of clarity.
What is your point of clarity?
Through you, I would like to ask the Honorable, my opponent, whether our life expectancy rate is at 73 or 75. I thank you.
Honorable Member for Bailey's Backlet, can you respond to the concern of the member?
Madam Speaker, as I was just about to say, all this statistics was given from the Pan-American Health Organization and updated in 2017. Madam Speaker, as I close, I would like to ask the government 3 questions. 1, in the event that we do increase the contribution rates and the age, what are the precautionary measures put in place by the NIS to cease the borrowing from the government? 2, would the government be disciplined enough? Madam Speaker, I beg for 30 seconds to wrap up.
30 seconds granted.
2, would the government be disciplined enough to refrain from loans and requests brought forward in the future? And 3, is the government prepared, willing and ready to provide the necessary help to the people that they now put at a disadvantage? Thank you.
Are there any other contributions to the debate on this resolution? Honorable Member for Corinth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand here today to assist my colleagues in shining light on those who seem visually impaired to the motion being discussed here today. Madam Speaker, as the Minister for Health and National Security and Social Security, this motion hits home because of the very fact that the NIS is one of our largest forms of social security in Grenada. Madam Speaker, please allow me to quote the purpose of the NIS.
Permission granted.
Thank you. According to www.nisgrenada.org, and I quote, it is a protection provided for its members against economic and social distress caused by the stoppage of or substantial reduction of earnings resulting from occurrences such as sickness, unemployment injury, invalidity, childbirth, retirement, or death. End of quote. Madam Speaker, with what I have just quoted and what my fellow colleagues has just said, through you, I would like to ask the opposition one question. How can you sit here today and oppose this motion, knowing that our country's health is our country's wealth? Madam Speaker, it is sad to know that some prefer to stay and condemn than to help enforce these changes, that some prefer to play the blaming game rather than to present a solution to this matter we are discussing here today. Madam Speaker, who are there to tell us that what we are doing is wrong when all we are doing is for the benefit of the people of Grenada, and yet they say they love Grenada? Madam Speaker, with your permission, I would like to quote from Proverbs chapter 29, verses 18.
You may do so.
And I quote, where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. End of quote. Madam Speaker, we have been having these visions for some time now. And now is the time to make the right step. Not everyone likes changes, but changes are inevitable. Madam Speaker, where in the world do you see people more expenses than revenues, and they settle for it. Madam Speaker, right now the NS expenses are drastically increasing. Madam Speaker, we all know that more expenses can result in a deficit. Madam Speaker, we are all aware of the problem here today. And if necessary measures are not taken, the NS can and will go bankrupt. Madam Speaker, I think the opposition is very naive. What they expect us to do? Forget the problem, move on with our lives, and in the next 5 years, 10 years, there's no benefits to reap? Madam Speaker, we preach about the children are the future, but what policies are we putting in place to ensure that our children of today have the same 7 benefits as we have now? Madam Speaker, it sickens me to know how selfish the members on the other side are. Madam Speaker, I know the opponents might argue that the elderly have 5 more years to work for, and that's true. As Minister for Health, allow me to educate my opponents using an article published by the World Health Organization. Please permit me to quote.
You may proceed.
Keeping active at an older age improve cardiorespiratory and muscular fitness, bone and functional health, reduce the risk of non-communicable diseases, depression, and cognitive decline. End of quote. This shows that working for 5 more years has no negative effects on the elder population of this nation. Madam Speaker, it's very laughable that our opponents did not see that retiring at 60 is still available. Madam Speaker, apart from all the backbiting and tactics the members on the other side use to make the government look bad, there is so much more to be grateful for. Madam Speaker, the last actuarial review occurred since 1983. According to countryeconomy.com, our population was 98,000. According to indexmundo.com, as of July 2017, our population is approximately 112,000. Madam Speaker, our population has grown. Our life expectancy rate has increased. Our life mortality rate has decreased. Madam Speaker, these facts must stand for something. It means that compared to 1983, we Grenadians have been living longer. Madam Speaker, why is that problem?
On a point of clarity, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Bailey's Bacolet, I appreciate your contributions. Please wait to be acknowledged by the Speaker. You may proceed.
Madam Speaker, through you, I would like to ask the member, where did she get her statistics from and when last was it updated?
Honorable Member, can you please provide the member for Bailey's Bacolet with some information as to where you would have received your statistics?
Madam Speaker, I believe that if the opponent was listening, she would have heard that I said from indexmundo.com as of July 2017 and countryeconomy.com. Thank you. Madam Speaker, these facts also reflect on our health sector. Madam Speaker, our health sector has drastically improved from 1983. In fact, the world has improved from 1983. Everything has become about technology, and so there are better means of treating sick patients. Madam Speaker, with this technology, the people of Grenada stand a better chance of surviving. Hence, the increase in our life expectancy rate. We should not be afraid to make changes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my colleagues and I cannot stop stressing on the immense fact that Grenada has the lowest retirement age. The NS is not proposing that the retirement age should be increased immediately. They are saying it would increase gradually by 1 every 2 years. Madam Speaker, to conclude, I will end with a quote by a lecturer and author called Joel A. Barker. Please permit me to go.
Permission granted.
Thank you. Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes time. Vision with action can change the world. End of quote. Madam Speaker, through you, I would like to implore on the members on the other side. Please permit me 3 seconds.
You are granted 10 seconds, Honorable Member, to wrap up.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, through you, please implore me to send a few strong words to the opposition. We have been having vision without action for years, but now is the time to make the change. 3 seconds. 30 seconds, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member, I will grant you 10 seconds in addition to the 10 you already granted. Please finalize, wrap up your words, please.
We have been having vision without action for years, but now is the time to make the change. If we do not do it for ourselves, my opponents, please let us do it for the children of the future. I thank you.
Are there any more contributions to the debate on this resolution? Honorable Member for Latent.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Semantics, distortion, denial of facts. These are some of the tactics used by our opponents to thwart the minds of the innocent in this honorable House. Good afternoon, all. Madam Speaker, as Honorable Member for Latent, I confidently stand in total agreement with my teammates fully unsupportive of this resolution put forward in this honorable House today. I proudly represent the people and through me allow their voices to be heard. Madam Speaker, in Grenada today, millions of dollars paid out in pension returns go to a minute 0.91% of the population. A mere 0.91%, which consists of citizens aged only 60 to 70 years. How be it that the NIS risks bankruptcy if a staggering 23.2% of the population is aged 16 to 35? Statistics all obtained from Grenada's Central Statistical Office. Madam Speaker, let us acknowledge logic. The only way bankruptcy is on the horizon is if we all stop contributing. But why would we? Madam Speaker, let us also acknowledge the people who are afflicted by low salaries and wages. If we increase the contributions, what will become of such a society? Madam Speaker, increasing the retirement age is tantamount to having no pity for the poor youths. And we are all for the youths, aren't we? Hence this exercise today. The retirement age should remain the same. The youth comprise the majority of the population, and with the increased literacy levels, unemployment and joblessness have become familiar and disturbing tunes to the ears of the youths. Madam Speaker, old age is as old as it sounds. But don't get me wrong. Some of these senior folks will work till they drop. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. But Madam Speaker, imagine what preludes in the minds of the young job hunters every time they are asked for what? Maybe a 2 to 3 years experience or just experience at all? Pray tell, where do they expect them to get experience from if the ones who are supposed to be resting and enjoying their pensions are crazy glued to their office chairs? Madam Speaker, then why devote your all, yourself, your every penny to educate your children and grandchildren if you cannot step down and step aside for them? Madam Speaker, they should let their children and grandchildren with fresh minds, energy, vigor, and zeal take up the baton while they rest from the years of hard work and labor. Madam Speaker, if the retirement age is increased, the cycle will go on forever. The cycle of 10 years experience at the age of 40 and walking on the streets will have no end for the youth. Madam Speaker, permit me to define a term relevant to this debate.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, brain drain can be defined as the immigration of highly trained or intelligent people from a particular country. Madam Speaker, several common causes precipitate brain drain on the geographical level, including political instability, poor quality of life, limited access to healthcare, and a shortage of economic opportunity. These factors prompt skilled and talented workers to leave source countries for places that offer better opportunities. Today, Madam Speaker, it is an indisputable fact that some of our most qualified, skilled, and talented human resources are living and working outside of Grenada. Check Silicon Valley, check Microsoft, check who are the ones lecturing across the US, check the hospitals in Britain. You will find some of our most intellectually endowed Grenadians toiling in other people's vineyard. But what about the Grenadian vineyard, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, are we promoting brain drain? Is this what we're really endorsing as a nation? Brain drain? Madam Speaker, why not empower our people, provide attractive and rewarding employment opportunities for them so that when they do retire at the current retirement age, they will feel satisfied and their contributions to NIS would be of a substantial percentage? Why not engage in efforts to make the employment sector attractive enough so that persons may feel compelled to remain in Grenada and contribute instead of hopping over to what we term as greener pastures? Wouldn't this ensure mass contributions to the NIS? Here's what. Our opponents suggest change, Madam Speaker. I don't disagree. But change in what, one may question? Madam Speaker, we need to have change in our attitudes, change in our decisions, change in our habits, change in our selfish desires as individuals, because we are not willing to break the cycle of struggles and suffering for people, and through change is the only possible way. Our opponents, how about change and reconsidering the opportunity of having a seat at our table? Before any change to the social fabric of Grenada can be realized, it is imperative that we first change our way of thinking. Real change, Madam Speaker, comes from within. Remember, we change to make a difference, not change that will exploit others. Madam Speaker, if after all this bantering and debating, the stone cold hearts of our opponents doesn't crack, then through praying and fasting and the mercies of God just might. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to leave with you this quote.
You may do so.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Elizabeth Warren, 1982. Corporations are not people. People have hearts. They have kids. They get jobs. They get sick. They cry. They dance. They live. And they die. And that matters. That matters because we don't run this country for corporations. We run it for people. I thank you.
Are there any further contributions to the debate on this resolution? Honorable Member for Apatut.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today. Madam Speaker, as I stand here today, Madam Speaker, I must say my heart is aching. After such an experience as Hurricane Ivan, thank you. Madam Speaker, as I stand here today, I must say my heart is aching. After such an experience of Hurricane Ivan, I must say people do not fully understand the meaning of preparation. Because it seems to me that they failed to prepare after Hurricane Ivan completely devastated Grenada. Completely devastated Grenada, leaving people in tears, people heartbreaking, leaving deaths. But Madam Speaker, think about it. Isn't that what we want for our people? Isn't that what we want for people? Isn't that what we've been fighting for? A better tomorrow? Madam Speaker, I love Grenada. We love Grenada. And we are willing to fight for Grenada. We're not going to stand here idly watching Grenada sink. We're not going to stand here idly and watch the people of Grenada suffer. Because, Madam Speaker, we love them. And that's why, Madam Speaker, that's why we is on the left and they is on the right. Madam Speaker, in addition, Madam Speaker, social services is a must. You can look up, you can look down, you can look up, you can look low, you can turn wrong, you can turn left, you can turn right. It's a must. And more will always mean more. More don't mean must, more mean more. Madam Speaker, if more people is working in the workforce, more money will be obtained, Madam Speaker, which will in turn increase the economy, which will in turn make Grenada a better and more developed place, which will also increase the amount of health centers, educational facilities, police station, fire trucks, and will solve all the problems. In the end, more benefits. Madam Speaker, like once again, more means more. More time, more money equal more benefits. It's simple like that, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, the best thing about it, Madam Speaker, the people have a choice. The people have their own voice. We're not forcing our ideals on anyone, Madam Speaker. They have a choice. Because at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, it's their mind, it's their choice, and only them can choose. Madam Speaker, the choice to retire at 60 will be available, Madam Speaker. It is. If you don't believe me, do your homework. Madam Speaker, the only setback to that, Madam Speaker, is that the pension collection will be reduced by 0.5% per month. Madam Speaker, look at the bright side. If they actually work over the natural retirement age, the pension will also increase by 0.5% per month. Madam Speaker, isn't that astonishing? Isn't that amazing? Madam Speaker, I don't want to talk too much and confuse my oppositional members, Madam Speaker, but to me, we, the government of today and yesterday, we are fighting for a better tomorrow. Every action have a reaction. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. And according to what you do with this gift will determine how bright tomorrow is. Madam Speaker, I overheard the honorable member saying that how this might affect the youths and the youths may not get jobs. Madam Speaker, I find this is laughable. Madam Speaker, but the answer is obvious. She asked a question that is completely redundant. Madam Speaker, look at it that way, Madam Speaker. If more people are working and more money being obtained, economy increase, Grenada become more developed, more institution, more job opportunity will be created, Madam Speaker. So they will get work. They will. Like I said, do your homework. Madam Speaker, as I end, Madam Speaker, I finally proclaim that social services is a must. And we, the government, are not forcing anyone. Because at the end of the day, it's their mind and their choice. And only them can choose. I thank you.
Are there any further contributions? Are there any further contributions to the resolution? Honorable Member for Vincennes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. As the Shadow Minister for Education, Human Resource Development, and Curriculum Affairs, I stand here to seek justice for the individuals of this country. It astonishes me, Madam Speaker, that the government supports this resolution. The government continually mentions the need for change. Change, you say? Are we ready for these drastic changes in our economy? Do we as a nation have the available resources to facilitate these changes? We are indeed aware that change is inevitable. But let me remind you that not all changes are for the betterment of a society or state. Please remember that every action has a consequence, if not now, but in the future. Furthermore, This proposal has numerous drawbacks and affects persons of all ages. Firstly, Madam Speaker, this resolution increases the perspectives of young people being unemployed for a longer period of time. When we raise the retirement age from 60 to 65, we are not only placing intense pressure on the predestined retirees, but we are also making it difficult for the young persons to acquire jobs. Imagine, Madam Speaker, you working all these years to get a suitable pension to satisfy your tenure in which you work, for only to realize that you have to work 5 more years? This, my friend, will drive anyone insane. Our youths are placed on the sidelines. This, I repeat, hinders the development of the human resource in our country. Increasing the retirement age also brings a lack of innovation within businesses as well as the educational system. Keeping the same persons in the workforce prevents new ideas and creativity from being harnessed. As we all say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. We need to employ the youths. They can bring new ideas to the table. But this is impossible with the implementation of this resolution, Madam Speaker, as it creates a barrier and hampers the development of the human resource. Also, Madam Speaker, the public servants and low-income families are targeted the most. Their contributions to the NIS not only increases, but their salaries remain the same. Although this affects the upper class as well, it has a greater impact on the lower class. These persons have little in their pockets when NIS is deducted. Unlike the wealthier folks, Madam Speaker, these people only have one source in which they gain the income. So increasing the contributions rates from 9% to 11% flattens their poor dollar. More deductions equals to less spending. Madam Speaker, let us not be swayed and misguided by the statements presented by the government. Madam Speaker, permit me to quote.
You may proceed.
Thank you. According to www.minimumwage.org, Grenada on the whole has a low yearly minimum wage of $6,556 in international currency. Here again, Madam Speaker, is another reason why the contribution to NIS should not increase. In comparison to other CARICOM countries, we have one of the lowest wages. Since our minimum wage is minute, why should we agree on this resolution? It seems to me, Madam Speaker, that the government is adapting the follow the leader fashion. So tell me, because other CARICOM countries are increasing their contributions and the age of retirement, we have to do it as well? Are we adequately prepared for this change? Grenada cannot and should not be compared to CARICOM countries. I reiterate, Madam Speaker, that Grenada does not have the necessary resources to encompass these changes. We should not follow the crowd. Instead, change our way of thinking so that the crowd follow our principles and implementations. Let's stand out, be unique, and try to find other means to combat this problem. Lastly, the healthier people are, the greater the production and human resource will be improved. How can we maintain a healthy workforce if our life expectancy rate is 73 when compared to other countries like Barbados, who rank in the top 5 for CARICOM countries? How do we expect persons to walk up to the age of 65 when our life expectancy rate is this low? It is absurd that the government doesn't see the whole picture. They fail to realize that we are not sufficiently prepared for the resolution proposed by the NIS. We, the opposition, completely disagree and firmly believes that no changes should be made. I rest my case. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Are there any other contributions to the debate on this resolution? Honorable Member for Beaton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as a Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture, I join in agreement with my fellow colleagues in endorsing the recommendation of gradually increasing the pension age from 60 to 65 years, and also increasing the contribution rate from 9 to 11%. The gossip, I presume, from the opposing party is that the problem was created by our government, Madam Speaker. As the Honorable opposing member had stated, government comes and government goes. So therefore, this is all on our backs. Madam Speaker, statistics and also reputable research carried out clearly reveals that annual funds is insufficient to cover total expenditure. Madam Speaker, I would like to ask them, is that my problem, their problem, or our problem? Madam Speaker, I believe the opposition is afraid of change. Adversity exposes our true character and it illuminates our innermost nature. However, good governance realizes that change does not come as gradually as tomorrow, but it is inevitable. Madam Speaker, I would not stress, because my fellow colleagues have made their concerns clear, but I would like to step on the youths. Madam Speaker, the honorable opposition member has stated that our most valuable, cherished individuals have been working in another man's vineyard, but therefore they are the ones to come back home and provide and uplift our youths that are the future generation to come. Permission to quote, Madam Speaker.
Permission granted.
Tell the youth that guidance is not requisition for oppression, and that support is not a sign of submission. Those who walk away from fights may have chosen not to harm their assailants. End quote. Madam Speaker, the proposition is to take a necessary action to stay away from impending doom. Change, and let me stress it, necessary. It is necessary. The opposition counter-proposes and advises that it is not beneficial, but yet, in their lives, they fail to perform. The advice is a command that ignores the problem at hand. Madam Speaker, by neglecting to do so, what will happen to future generations? What will happen to our tri-island states? Today, a behavior is advised. It is hailed. Tomorrow, the same person could be disgraced. No matter how small, how tiny, all could be lost, inevitably. The opposition is willing to just stand up and take the common blows. It will appear, but not me, not my government, and I know for sure, not the entire nation. Madam Speaker, the government and I, we would rather act to secure a better future for our youths, our community, the economy, our tri-island state as a whole. By fully endorsing this resolution, we are securing the future for everyone. Thank you.
Are there any other contributions to the resolution? Honorable Member for Wester Hall.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am appalled, absolutely flabbergasted. Does the government really believe they're on the right side of history? I am amazed at the mental gymnastics and hoop jumping that they have to go through in order to justify this plan. It is ludicrous to make our seniors wait till they are 65 for their pension instead of 60. It is unjust, unethical, and flat out unkind. Mr. Speaker and Madam Speaker, they have worked and toiled for most of their lives, And for what? To have their future reward slowly dragged away from them. Grenada has one of the highest costs of living. Grenada has one of the highest costs of living in the Caribbean. And yet the government is so ungrateful that they won't even provide the means for them to meet these costs. How can they say forward ever, backward never, when they can't even take care of their own? Madam Speaker, this is just another example of how the government has failed its citizens. Every year, thousands of young people graduate from secondary schools and colleges looking for work. But will they all be able to find it if there are no vacancies, no jobs? Madam Speaker, according to www.indexmundi.org, our unemployment rate is 20.6%. From the previous year, that is a decrease of 4 percentage points. A plan such as this would undo that progress. Many of our senior working class citizens will have to work harder and longer and may not be as willing to retire for new workers to come in, all for a pension that would be long overdue. Madam Speaker, the opposition party and I can no longer stand idly by and watch while the foundation of its society is abused and its future is destroyed. How as a society have we created such a backward system that the old can't move out and the young can't move in? Madam Speaker, our youth employment rate will skyrocket. The young people of our nation are being abandoned. It is true that we have programs to help with that, but there's only so much that they can do when our own labor system is stuck in gridlock. And where do they go when they can't find decent jobs, decent, well-paying jobs? They start liming on the block, and some start getting into trouble. Some of them never even leave their mother's house. And what do you think happens to them eventually? They may end up in Richmond Hill Prison, or worse yet, start abusing their bodies with drugs and alcohol. Our opponents speak of change, but change for what? What is change if we are left worse off? What is change if we undo the progress of previous years? This is no change for the good of the people. This is madness, madness I say. Instead of punishing our elders and by extension our youth, the government should go back to the NIS and formulate a new bill. Just one example could be one that includes an increase in wages so that our lower salary working class citizens aren't as worse affected. The previous arrangement had a total contribution rate of 9%, meaning 4% from the employee and 5% from the employer. Under this new bill, the contribution rate will rise to 11%, meaning 5% from the employee and 6% from the employer. Madam Speaker, a change of 2% might seem minuscule to the government, but over the years, over an entire working career, it starts to add up. For example, an employee works at a firm for $3,000 a month from the time they are 25. And under the old system, they would have paid $50,400. Now under this new system, they pay a total of $72,000, which is a $21,600 difference. That's money that they could have used to spend on a myriad of other things, such as the mortgage, their car payments, their student loans, but instead they have to spend it on a pension that they have to wait an extra 5 years for. Is this what the government calls fairness? Yes, they get the money at the end of the career, but that's the key phrase, Madam Speaker. At the end. The money that they could have saved for whatever plans they may have, but no, they have to wait till the dusk of their lives to reap the benefits. And this is assuming they have worked continuously at the same place for decades. The NIS even penalizes them if they even think about retiring before 65. Madam Speaker, this is cruelty, unprecedented brutality. Is this really how our government expects to pay back our citizens? Unacceptable. Madam Speaker, it has become apparent today that the government does not have our country's best interests at heart. And how could they, when they are wholeheartedly pushing a bill that's inherently flawed? How can they say they are the progenitors of beneficial change when they have demonstrated such a lack of foresight? Madam Speaker, permit me to paraphrase a line from the great king of pop himself. If the government wants to make Grenada.
Member, you asked for permission. It has not been granted. Let's try this again.
Madam Speaker, please permit me to go and paraphrase a line from the great king of pop himself.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If the government wants to make... Madam Speaker, please permit me about 20 seconds to go and wrap up.
20 seconds granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If the government wants to make Grenada a better place, then they should first take a look at themselves and make a change. I thank you.
Are there any other contributions to the debate on this resolution? Honorable Member for Pomerose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I greet this honorable House. As we are in a carnival season, I couldn't think about a better way to begin my presentation this afternoon. Madam Speaker, please permit me to quote.
Permission granted.
As our international soca monarch king, Mr. Hallis Map, also known as Mr. Killer, said, pick up something and run with it. End of quote. We, the government, pick up this resolution and run with it, moving ahead responsibly to secure our tomorrow. As I stand here today, I cannot say that I'm surprised by what was said by my worthy opponent, but I could only wish that the rain could fall and wash away that dirty mentality of theirs. Madam Speaker, please permit me to quote William Pollard.
You may do so.
Thank you. Without change, there is no innovation, creativity, or incentive for improvement. Those who initiate change would have a better opportunity to manage the change that is inevitable. End of quote. Madam Speaker, we are not here to play the blaming game. At the end of the day, it isn't election day, and Grenada belongs to all of us. But Madam Speaker, through you, I would like to ask my worthy opponent, is the government NIS? Besides, Jesus was persecuted and killed for wanting the world to be a better place. So who are we, the government, to expect better from our worthy opponent? After all, who feels it knows it, and we are the one that is in the seat. Madam Speaker, I was very angered in my seat, because the reason we are here today is because of the actuarial review. According to Section 22 of the National Insurance Act, it is mandatory that the actual review be carried out every 3 years. Based on the findings which I expected my worthy opponent to speak on today, let me present those findings for you. Please, Madam Speaker, I would like permission to relate to my speech, my note.
You may do so.
Thank you. Starting in 2016, annual contribution was insufficient to meet total expenditure. So investment income must be used to cover the shortfall. 2, the reserve continues to grow but at a much slower pace. 3, starting in 2022, total income will not be sufficient to cover total expenditure and the reserve begins to decrease. 4, during 2035, the reserve will drop to 0. As a result, the required contribution rate to meet expenditure will increase to 22.5%. In short, what all these findings are saying is that the NIS will go bankrupt, or meaning in our language, they will not have enough money to pay total expenditure. Madam Speaker, my mother did not raise no fool. And she would always say to me that early prevention is better than cure. However, in order for such a change to be effective, there must be some factors that must be taken into consideration. 1, the life expectancy rate. According to, Madam Speaker, please permit me to quote.
Permission granted.
According to data released by the Social Security Board of Trustees, IMF, Grenada in particular, expectancy ratio is 75 years for men and 77 years for women. This was dated July 2017. Madam Speaker, another factor to be considered, the economy. Yes, the money we borrow from the NIS, we use it to develop our country. It did not go in our pockets. Grenada is seen today as one of the fastest growing economy. Shall we say thank you to the NIS for lending us the money? Thank you, NIS. Madam Speaker, based on this evidence, Grenada is ready for such a change. This is why I find it quite laughable that the opposition will stand in this honorable house against such a motion. While I would not say that my opponents are naive, I would say that they need to change their attitude. After all, everything is changing. Cost of living is rising. Healthcare is increasing. The cost of healthcare is increasing. Most importantly, the value of the EC dollar is quickly depreciating. If you observe or if you did your homework, you would observe that there is no more use for the 1 cent and 2 cents on the market. Madam Speaker, we love our country. That is why we are not unmindful that persons would have to wait a little longer for persons to retire to gain employment. This is why this process will be done gradually. However, this government is ready to assist persons in any way legally possible through programs such as the new Imani program, small business loans, scholarship, just to name a few. After all, we have youth and people who are innovative and determined to create a life that will be both beneficial to themselves and the country as a whole. Furthermore, we are not naive that person's salary will remain the same. But I would like to ask my worthy opponent, is there really a cost of Social Security? While this is a personal matter, it is quite relevant to this discussion. In 2017, I experienced a change in my internet bill from Flow. Without my consent, they would have increased my bill. Instead, I was angry. But what did I do? I paid it. And today, all who had the same services would have paid it as well. And today, we are receiving better services. Madam Speaker, I say that to say, the things we value in life, we make the extra sacrifice to have it. Madam Speaker, I beg for 30 seconds to wrap up.
30 seconds granted.
Thank you. In conclusion, please permit me to quote Martin Luther King, Jr.
You may proceed.
Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. The tireless excretion and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. End of quote. With that being said, as our reigning Soca Monarch King, please permit me, Madam Speaker, King Dan Henry and Nealon Williams also known as Little Natty and Thunder, said, get in your section. I strongly believe that this opposition needs to get
Honorable
in their
member,
section.
thank you for your contributions to this resolution.
Thank you.
You may have your seat. And we continue. Are there any other contributions to the resolution being debated here today? Honorable member for Bellevue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I approach you and my fellow parliamentarians this evening with indescribable feelings. The NIS, once a prestigious organization, has seemed to stray away from one of the recent slogans, moving ahead responsibly to secure tomorrow. The NIS is taking a step that is seen as strong, helpful, and determined. But I'm afraid, Madam Speaker, that the footprint left behind will be covered in pain and suffering. Madam Speaker, when listening to the news of the new improvement NIS is making, I was dumbfounded. It drove me to wonder, has the NIS done adequate research to propose a solution? Have they inquired how this will affect the people, their people, our people, we the people? What happens to the low-income individuals, the people on the verge of retirement that have plans? Have they considered that maybe most Grenadians would pass before they can collect their hard-earned money? Madam Speaker, we are all entitled to have our own opinions, and I speak for all the opposition members once again when I say that this decision to increase retirement and percentage paid is rash, and we the people need a proper explanation. Just think about it. Not being able to provide the way they used to before, not being able to retire at 60 because if they do, their pension will be cut by half, having to wait 2 or 3 years before they can collect their hard-earned money. Being able to rest has left the minds of the people on the verge of retiring. Madam Speaker, the NIS claims that they are paying out more benefits than receiving contributions. Therefore, they want to raise contribution percentage. Madam Speaker, I say if they want to raise contribution, our salaries needs to be raised. In the event that a worker gets paid $500 per month, after his or contribution is 5%, he will receive $475. If he is paid $1,500 per month, after contribution is made, he or she will receive $1,425. Madam Speaker, if anyone wants to challenge my mathematical ability, use a calculator. I am sure that I am not the only person here that finds it alarming. If we need to raise percentage, we also need to raise the pay rate to ensure that our people has enough for their necessary needs, immediate needs that NIS does not cover. Madam Speaker, let's talk about raising the age gradually from 60 to 65 because this is what is burning the opposition this afternoon. Allow me to quote Madam Speaker.
You may proceed.
Old age, believe me, is a good and pleasant thing. It is true you are gently shouldered off the stage, but then you are given such a comfortable front stall as a spectator, unquote. Madam Speaker, it seems as if the Grenadian people would not have the luxury of ever being a spectator. It's not about how long we will live or how hard you can still work at an older age, but it's about having the comfort of living in peace for a few years before you leave. Madam Speaker, imagine the people who started to work since 16 and has made the contributions reaching 60 and has to continue working. Is there no sympathy for these people? When will they be able to take a rest? The purpose of NIS is to give the people of Grenada a restful mind with confidence knowing that they have money put away to help them after they have worked and worked hard. Madam Speaker, if you would permit me, I would like to read a scripture verse.
Permission has been granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Psalms 90, Madam Speaker. Psalms 90 verses 10 in the New International Version says, our days may come to 70 years or 80 if our strength endures. Yet the best of them are but trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away. It states clearly in the scripture verse that we can live until 70 or 80 years. Even right now, Madam Speaker, according to www.indexmoney.org, Grenada's life expectancy rate in 2017 was 74.5 years. But also in the scripture, Madam Speaker, it clearly states that most are troubled and sorrow, they pass quickly. Madam Speaker, after I have worked for 40-something years and I have to continue working, I would pass too because I would be greatly troubled. Yes, we will live until 70 or 80. I would like to rest, but I would like to rest, and I'm sure Grenadian people will agree with me.
Honorable member for Pomerose.
I stand on a point of order.
Please state your point of order.
I did not hear my worthy opponent said end quote. I was wondering if she's still quoting.
Honorable member, please indicate whether you are continuing with your quotation or if you would have finished.
Madam Speaker, it is clear that the whole audience knew I finished quoting, so I'm sorry that my member did not recognize it. Unquote, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member. Honorable member, please continue with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, increasing the age will not only affect the people, but the workforce of Grenada as a whole. According to www.socialnomics.org, efficiency in the workplace is defined by the work or task completed in a single workday by a single employee or team in a given time period. Madam Speaker, research was also done on what would affect the maximum efficiency of businesses, and employee health issues at the very top of the list. If employees are healthy, they will physically able to do their jobs with focus and stamina. I said all this to say, Madam Speaker, that the efficiency of our workers will drop as they get older, and if they work too much, they are putting themselves and their businesses at risk. Where is the sympathy for these people? So now we have these older people who might not be at their very best working in our businesses, and the younger people waiting to join the workforce has nothing to do. Madam Speaker, in June 2018, our employment rate was recorded as 20.9%, a major and surprising drop due to the development of Imani programs. But no, Madam Speaker, where are the new Imani workers going to go when there are no longer spaces to be filled, and there will be none anytime soon, since everyone will wait till they're 62 or 63 to get the money? Allow me to quote, Madam Speaker.
You may proceed.
Learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you have done yesterday would be sufficient for tomorrow. Unquote. Madam Speaker, I'm not saying that the older folks cannot keep up with the band, but I'm saying that the younger people who may enter the workforce can bring a fresh outlook to our economy. They can bring Grenada up to speed with our ever-changing world. But if they are not given the openings and opportunities to do so, won't we be stagnant in our development? It's time that a fresh breeze passes over our schools, hospitals, law firms, and businesses in general. With new people comes new ideas and perspectives to develop the different sectors in our economy. Madam Speaker, the more I talk about this situation, the more my heart burns for our people. Allow me to quote, Madam Speaker.
You may do so.
The only relevant test of the validity of a hypothesis is comparison of prediction with experience. Unquote. The NIS has a hypothesis. If they increase the contribution and percentage paid, the contribution paid and age, they would have enough money to stay afloat. But they do not have an experience with this new improvement. It is clearly stated that the NS has not changed their contribution rate and age of retirement since 1983. And if they are basing this improvement of other countries' experience, then they are implying that Grenada's economy is the same as the other countries. Madam Speaker, of course, our economy and situations are different. Angola's retirement age is 65 years, but their life expectancy, 81 years. St. Lucia's retirement is also 65, but their life expectancy, 78 years. Are we still comparing our people to the people of the other countries who is obviously in better light than we are? Madam Speaker, comparison can cause problems. Madam Speaker, the government speaks of change. A change they absolutely, positively believe is necessary. Madam Speaker, the opposition is not one place to oppose everything presented, but instead show the size of everything presented, which was done in absolute perfection this afternoon. We are not closing our eyes and ears to change.
Honorable member for Bellevue, please take your seat. Might I remind you of the rules. There shall be no reading in this honorable house. You may continue with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are not closing our eyes and ears to change, for we'll be branded as the bad guys of Parliament, the one for the cause of stagnancy. Madam Speaker, we are just briefing this House on what may happen when they make the change, how they will affect our people. Madam Speaker, one specific change can evoke millions of significant change. I thank you.
Are there any other contributions? Anyone wishing to speak to this debate? Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I close off this evening's proceedings, I would like to begin with a quote.
You may proceed.
Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. End of quote. Madam Speaker, I sat here today listening to the wonderful presentations put forward by both the government as well as the opposition. And indeed, it has baffled my mind. Madam Speaker, the opposition has stated that we have a high cost of living, and because of such, the government is to be blamed. But, Madam Speaker, it is evident across the entire world that the cost of living is increasing. Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Bellevue.
Madam Speaker, I stand on a point of clarity.
What is your point of clarity?
Madam Speaker, through you, I would like to ask the Honorable Prime Minister which of our members stated that the government is a cause for our high standard of living.
Honorable Member, from where I sit, please take your seat, Mr. Prime Minister. From where I sit, I cannot recognize this as a point of clarity. So, Honorable Prime Minister, please continue with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it was also stated that between the years 2009 to 2015, the government underwent, and might I add, we used some of the monies from the NIS. But, Madam Speaker, just as one of my ministers would have stated, this money was used for economic development. Madam Speaker, it was also raised that we have failed once again because of raising the age to allow our members, to allow our people of Grenada, the youth of our nation, to have a chance of working. And like they so said, Madam Speaker, learning and innovation go hand in hand. And if we can learn and we are innovative, I am certain, Madam Speaker, even if we may not get a job in a prestigious institution, that we can turn our hands and make a living. Madam Speaker, it was also said and brought to the board that the pension will be cut by half if we choose to retire before the normal retirement age. However, and if I may quote, Madam Speaker, from the sustainability plan from the NIS.
Permission granted.
Madam Speaker, it states that if an individual chooses to retire before the pensionable age, that their pension will only be reduced by 0.5%, Madam Speaker, each month. So it's not the entire pension that's being cut off. Thank you. Madam Speaker, In closing, I strongly believe that the opposition have yet to come to grasp with this motion. And just as one of my ministers would have stated, we, the government, care for our people. And we will, I repeat, Madam Speaker, we will continue to work for the betterment of our people. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the following resolution be agreed. Whereas the National Insurance Scheme is a form of social security for workers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and it is mandated by the National Insurance Act to enable workers to obtain a pension after retirement, and whereas Section 22 of the National Insurance Act provides for triennial actuarial reviews to be conducted with focus on financial conditions of the fund as to whether contributions adequately support the benefits and other liabilities payable with a view to meeting the needs of the population. And whereas such reviews were conducted over the years and have found that the annual contributions are insufficient to pay annual expenditure. And whereas from 2016, the board has been required to rely on investment income by withdrawing increasing amounts from the reserve fund, such that by the year 2035, it is anticipated that the reserve fund will be fully consumed. And whereas the actuaries have recommended and the government proposes to implement certain changes to the National Insurance Fund to ensure the sustainability of the fund in order to avoid bankruptcy and in order to preserve the fund's ability to adequately provide for social security coverage for workers. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Youth Parliament of the Parish of St. David endorses government's proposal to gradually increase the national retirement age of workers from 60 to 65 years. Be it further resolved that this Youth Parliament endorses government's proposal to increase the collective contribution rate of both employers and workers from 9% to 11%. As many as are in favor of that resolution to be agreed, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. I think the ayes do have it. Honorable members, the resolution has been agreed. Honorable member for Bellevue.
Madam Speaker, I move that this honorable house be adjourned sine die.
Honorable members, the question is proposed that this honorable house be adjourned sine die. Those who are in favor of this proposal, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, say nay. It is clear that the ayes have it. I believe the ayes do have it. At this time, honorable members, we pause this honorable house as we give way to Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister for Youth Development, as she comes to share some brief remarks. Let's recognize her as she comes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I recognize this evening my colleague members of Cabinet, also the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture, and Arts, the Acting Coordinator, all staff of the Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and Arts, our youth parliamentarians, and also members of the audience. Good evening to all. It is a pleasure to be here to witness our young parliamentarians debate on such important issue of the NIS, an issue that is going to affect them greatly. And as a government, we are happy through the Ministry of Youth to give the young people the opportunity to contribute on that issue. I believe they have made a good debate here this afternoon. They contributed well, although I also believe much more research could have been put into it and get more information as it relates to the issues of the NIS and how it will affect them, the increase in the contribution rate, as well as a gradual increase in the retirement age. Our young people who are here this afternoon, I know some of you for the first time have really listened to that issue, and that is why we have such activities, the Youth Parliament bringing together young people so that they can understand, because this issue definitely affects all, including those of you who are here. So we are happy that we continue to give our young people the opportunity, to give you as young people the platform to articulate on issues of national importance. And I want to say thank you to all who contributed to the success of this evening's proceedings. Thank you all.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. At this time, it is my privilege to express that the business of this Youth Parliament stands adjourned. Signed, I. My apologies, colleagues. We would now entertain a note of thank you from one of the participants.
Good afternoon, all. Honorable Kate Lewis, Minister within the Ministry of Youth Development, Sport, Culture and Arts, with responsibility for the youth development. Honorable Kendra Matrin Stewart, Minister of Carriacou and Petit-Martinique Affairs, Local Government and Legal Affairs. Honorable Peter David, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Labor. Mr. Norman Gilbert, Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Youth Development, Sport, Culture and the Arts, with responsibility for youth development. Mr. Royden Bihari, Acting Coordinator of the Youth Development. Ms. Ali Eswin, Project Officer, Ministry of Youth Development. Mrs. Janice Francis, Human Resource Manager of the National Insurance Scheme and her team. National Youth Parliamentarians, other staff of the Ministry of Youth Development, Sport, Culture and the Arts. Fellow parliamentarians of the St. David Youth Parliament, media, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all, I say good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to stand before you all at this time to say thank you to the following persons and institutions. Firstly, to the Almighty God for his blessing and faithfulness towards us. We say thank you. Secondly, to the Ministry of Youth Development, Sport, Culture and the Arts for affording us the opportunity to have our first St. David's Youth Parliament sitting 2019 and gracing us with their presence here today. We say thank you. We would like to call up Ms. Ali Eswin. We're saying thank you to her for her countless hours being here with us. To our facilitator, Mr. Glenn Alexander, we'd like to call you up as well. So you could come to the stage. For your hard work and dedication in ensuring that we are properly trained and ready for today's sitting. We say thank you. Best facilitator ever. Last but not least, to our youth coordinator, Ms. Hamill, we'd like to call you up. Thank you for your encouragement, support, and love throughout the entire process. Your presence motivated us and inspired us to do our best. You are amazing. We thank you. To the principal and staff of the current government school and Westall Secondary School for their hospitality throughout our training, we say thank you. To Home Pride Bakery for preparing those tasty treats and juices, we say thank you. Special thanks to the master of the ceremony for a job well done. To my fellow youth parliamentarians, we did it. Our journey was an exciting one. We laughed and argued daily. But most importantly, we built relationships that will last a lifetime. Thank you for the memories we created and making today a reality. To our families, friends, employers, and teachers, thank you all for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you all for being present here today. To all the persons and institutions, we say thank you for making today a memorable one. I thank you. God bless you all.
Honorable members, as I have done it before, I announce that the business of this youth parliament is adjourned.
All right, we are live at the Westall Secondary School in St. David. Of course, we've just brought to you the St. David's Parliament, Youth Parliament, and of course, just to remind you of the resolution today, be it resolved that the Youth Parliament of the Parish of St. David endorses government's proposal to gradually increase the national retirement age, NRA, of workers from 60 to 65 years. Be it further resolved that this Youth Parliament endorses government's proposal to increase the collective contribution rates of both employers and workers from 9% to 11%. So there you've had it, of course, all part of a series of youth parliaments throughout the nation. We've had, of course, a session in St. Andrew, a session in St. Patrick, and now, of course, this session in St. David. And in between, we've had two sittings of the National Youth Parliament at Monk Welldale in St. George. So no doubt another spirited debate in a series of debates across the nation so far. And to give you a heads up of the speaker, of course, we intend to speak with this individual. The Speaker of the House today, Melissa St. Rhodes, the Clerk, Shalisa Dragon, the Assistant Clerk, Andres Neptune. Of course, we intend to have a conversation with the Speaker, as well as the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, and of course, any other individual as part of the audience here this afternoon. So we want to thank you so very much for tuning in. We invite you to stay with us because we will be rolling out a series of conversations here in the aftermath of St. David's Youth Parliament right here at Westerhall Secondary School. Of course, we're contending a bit with the noise as the members of the audience exit the hall. And so no doubt they've come out again in support of young people in the national development agenda. A mix of members of the audience. You're talking young people, not so young. You're talking old, not so old, but literally a mix of individuals coming out to support the efforts of young people here this afternoon. We'd like to let you know, I understand that there will be a break. Coming up, of course, Spice Mass is in the air. There'll be a break. And of course, after Spice Mass, a series of youth parliament will continue throughout the nation. St. John also on the card. So no doubt we invite you to stick around to continue to support young people as they continue to express themselves in the national development agenda. Some very topical issues being debated on, and no doubt their contributions are very well noted, very well appreciated at various levels. So in a moment, we intend to have conversations with Prime Minister, of course the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, National Security, Home Affairs and Economic Affairs, member for Redgate, Honorable Micah Lambert. We also would like to have a conversation with the opposition leader and member for Bellevue, Honorable Ezra Frederick, as well as the speaker today, Honorable Melissa St. Rose. No doubt once, of course, the coordinators of this youth parliament can have them nearby on set, we will bring you these conversations. But we would like to thank you so very much for staying with us, and we invite you to stay with us as we take a short break and resume with the conversations. You're watching the aftermath of the St. David's Parish Youth Parliament.
Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. WhatsApp, no flashlight can. Prepare for hurricane. Prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. WhatsApp, no flashlight candles will do. Tin stuff, garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane. Your hair, prepare for hurricane.
Yeah. I know you that we from back to back, Kenan. There's no way that a man can ever beat you. When you are there, what tribe? What the last? Fast. Man run with hold on. Renee, that's the same girl. All that amount of true. Yeah. That's a chance. Hold on. It's the walk.
Whenever a pedestrian is attempting to cross a pedestrian crossing or any other road, he must first stop and make sure that there is no oncoming vehicle. However, if there is any oncoming vehicle, he crosses briskly from one side to the other. If there is any vehicle proceeding, he ensures that vehicles come to a complete stop. After that vehicle comes to a complete stop, he crosses briskly from one side to the other. Remember, your safety comes first.
2018 was great. 2019, this will be epic. This is me, Scholar, 2018 Calypso Monarch of Grenada, and I'm inviting one and all to come down to Grenada for Spice Mass.
Minister for Finance, National Security, Home Affairs and Economic Affairs, member for Redgate, Honorable Micah Lambert. All right. So you served in this capacity today. Give me your assessment of your performance.
Well, all right, thank you. It was a rather interesting one. Personally, I know that I could have done a lot better. I would attribute it to somewhat, maybe a little bit of fear, and as well as anticipation for this thing. Yes, sir.
And where do you think you could have done better? In what areas?
Well, for one, I know for a fact that with being able to express myself fully and not reading as I would have done in, well, for some of the debate, in that I should have been able to, instead of looking at the people or looking at the pamphlets, just speak and all of that. Yes, sir.
How do you think this experience, being part of St. David's Parish Youth Parliament, has changed the way you see yourself and your contribution in the national development agenda?
Well, for starters, might I say that I'm somewhat of an introvert, right? So to have such a privilege, not just as a parliamentarian, but Prime Minister as such, it has pushed me in how I would speak and all of that. Additionally, you stated with the economic development, right? Now, I believe that with such, with much is expected, right? And upon being given such a task, might I say, or such a privilege, I think that now I will be able, because currently I am a high school teacher, but I believe that I will be able to further help the youth, at least. The youth and, by extension, the Grenadian populace.
Finally, Michael Lambert, how would you sum up the process of research to prepare for today?
Well, I will be honest. I procrastinated a bit in regards to my research. I should have done a lot more research, right? I did adequate research, but there is still much more that I could have done. However, the little that I would have gained, the little knowledge that I would have gained through this research has indeed helped. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for being brutally honest, live on camera. Thank you very much, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, National Security, Home Affairs and Economic Affairs, member for Redgate, Honorable Michael Lambert. We wish you the very best. Thank you. Right, so we continue a conversation here this afternoon. We'd like to talk with the Leader of the Opposition. Yeah, a conversation with the Leader of the Opposition and member for Bellevue, Honorable Ezra Frederick. Welcome, please have a seat. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm doing good, feeling good after the proceedings. It was really nice experience for all of us. We worked hard, and today's finally the day, and we went through it, and it was very good.
I note you mentioned it was a very nice experience. What about the proceedings was very nice to you?
It was how we use our information that we learned in our weeks of training, and everybody stood up because we were really afraid. Some of us are really frightened, and I thought that maybe some people would be shy and have mistakes, but there were hardly any mistakes, and everybody flowed properly throughout the proceedings.
And let's zero in on your performance as Leader of the Opposition and member for Bellevue. Scale of 1 to 10, I want to put you on the spot a bit. What is your rating relative to how you performed today?
Maybe I did a 10 in my opinion. Maybe in my opinion I did a 10 performance because I I get anxiety when I get on stage, even though I can speak well, I get anxiety. So I think I performed well above all, and even though they gave me point of order and point of clarity, so I was able to answer and make the audience laugh, so it was very comfortable, so I guess I give myself a 10. Yeah.
How has the experience changed your life?
Well, when you're growing up, you don't get very many opportunities to speak out your mind in case you get a job like a news reporter or a PRO, but this experience has helped me to open up my voice a little bit more and spread my horizons. I think that without this experience, I wouldn't be a better speaker today. So it has helped me to improve on my speaking abilities and my confidence as an individual. So I would use it as I go to college and university, etc. Yeah.
Just before we let you go, Ezra Frederick, what is your advice to young people who would like to be part of the national development agenda, but for some reason they doubt their contribution, they not the self-confidence, that sort of thing?
Well, we are often we are not given, as I was saying, we are not given opportunity. So my advice to them is take the opportunity because you never know what might come out of it. So you might say, oh, I don't know about it, I don't want to speak on it, but you should take the initiative because sometimes what you don't know, you get to learn in the process of taking part and playing your part. So it helps because we, the youth, are the future of Grenada, so we should start taking a stand now so that in the future it will be easier for our children, grandchildren to start taking that stand. So my advice is just go for it. Okay.
So very much. Leader of the Opposition and member for Bellevue, Honorable Ezra Frederick. Thank you so much. All the best. No problem. Right, let's have a conversation now with the Speaker of the House. Yes, we'd like to have a conversation with the Speaker. Here she comes. She is Honorable Melissa St. Rose. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Right, so your role today was so important because you had to control the proceedings, keep people in line and all of that, and so on. How did you perform in your view?
I think I did fairly well. I must be honest that there were areas that I believe that I could have done better, but this is actually my first opportunity to be the speaker. I have been a youth parliamentarian before, but this is the first time, so because of that, I think I can say I did fairly well.
In what areas do you need to improve?
For one, I think probably something changed from back then. So the procedures, there were some little changes there and following what the facilitators and the planners would have given to us. You just have to ensure that you're in check because, of course, the parliamentarians, they would want to know that you're doing what they practice, that sort of thing. And I have a tendency to just, wing it sometimes. So that was my issue there. Just following the prescribed procedures and not what I know.
According to the powers of the Speaker, relative to the rules of procedure and standing order for National Youth Parliament, the Speaker presides over the meeting of the House, calls upon members to speak, maintains order in debates, rules on points of order, puts all decision, dispenses punishment, and appoints all committees. The Speaker is always heard in silence and without interruption. One of the things I noticed today, you were pointing out to some members. They stood on a point of clarity, I believe, and they started talking before they were recognized by you to speak, and you had to come in to put some order there. Yes.
That was needed because if this is an educational forum, as much as it is we are putting on something on display, we must follow the rules. And I felt that it was needed. As a speaker, you must wait to be acknowledged. It's just standard procedure. So even though, I felt a little bit, slighted for that, but we have to teach what is done so that maybe one day some of these very same members would be in youth parliament and know that these are the standing orders and they need to be followed.
How have the proceedings today helped to shape who you are?
I think for sure it sort of propelled me to try something new. Because to be honest, as I said to you, I've been debating since secondary school. That's 10, 15 years ago. The last time I took part in a parliament, I think it's probably 8 years ago. And when I was asked to assist, I said, I don't have the time, but I can share some ideas, and I recruited a few people. But then he asked, can you assist with being the speaker? And I said, I'm not too sure about that. But today, being a part of the day's proceedings and just being able to give my part. I felt that I gave it a good shot, and therefore I must use that principle that when I am given an opportunity to do something, that give it a shot. You never know. You may just surprise yourself.
Well, thank you so much. We wish you the very best as you continue your journey, all right? So talking of the Speaker of the St. David's Parish Youth Parliament today, Honorable Melissa St. Rose. Thank you so much. We'd also like to have a conversation with Honorable Tamaya Monroe, of course, member for Bailey's Bacolets. Here she is. Thank you so very much for joining us live on set. And I just have to say, of course, former National Carnival Queen, you've been very involved in nation building, I have to say. What keeps you doing this?
I think it's something that comes from within. It's something that I would like to do. It's a drive from me, not from anybody else or the platform that I had prior to, but it's because I believe strongly in being an example and also being a mentor for somebody out there in whatever I do.
Okay, so reflecting on your performance today, member for Bailey's, Bacolet, you were very spirited in your delivery. You were challenged a few times, of course, but you held your ground. Your assessment of your performance?
To be honest, in everything, you see the pros and the cons in it. I do understand the other side's debate, and I tried my best to really bring out my side a bit more. I do think I could have done better because with everything you can do a little bit more. No one is 100%. But I am satisfied, although I believe I could have done a little bit more.
In what way could you have done better?
Well, in terms of learning my content, there were times I was struggling, and then the subject-verb agreement at times you had to think of it sometimes. Should I use are, should I use is at this point? But other than that, in how I presented my my points as well, I could have done a little bit more there.
If I were to ask you, how has this experience shaped your life? What would you say?
Well, I started to debate in St. Joseph's Convent with the Grand Neck debate, but I did not stop there. I did not believe in stopping right there. I always had a passion for youth debate. I remember going to one youth parliament when I was in secondary school, and there were people like Deidre Greenage, Karim Salhab, and so forth. And I was so impressed, and I said, you know what, I have to be like one of them one day. And this opportunity presented itself, and I saw it as the best way for me to move forward and also to be an example for someone who may just want to be in an opportunity like this, but they're shy. So the opportunity to be in this debate, the hard work, the friends that you have made and so forth, it is life-changing.
Before you leave us, what do you do today relative to your commitment to nation building, your employment and social stuff?
Well, the profession that I am in right now, it gives an opportunity for nation building. I am a teacher in St. Dominic's RC School. I teach grade 1, so that's 5, 6, 7-year-olds. And at that young stage, you get to build them and to ensure that their confidence rise and so forth. So in the sense that I am a teacher and keeping up to the morals that we sometimes dwindle from and ensuring that they are at a position or at a standard, it shows nation building in itself.
Every success as you move forward. Thank you so much. Honorable Tamaya Monroe, member for Bailey's Bacolet. So, of course, you're watching the aftermath of live coverage of St. David's Youth Parliament right here at Wester Hall Secondary School. We'd like to begin to conclude this live session and to thank you so very much for tuning in, for spending the time with us, because like I always say, you could be elsewhere, but you have, of course, chosen to be here with us to be part of the proceedings this afternoon. It's been an absolute delight coming into your homes, wherever you've been watching this live, and to continue to encourage you to support young people in the national development agenda. They continue to ventilate on a number of issues of confronting Grenada, and of course we anticipate that their expressions are being listened to, their expressions are being heard, and for the authorities to, of course, consider their points of view in the national development agenda. So we'd like to thank you all very much for tuning in to the live. Thank you to Mikey Live, of course. Thank you to his team. Thank you to Flo. Thank you to GIS. Thank you to the Ministry of Youth. Thank you all for your contributions today. And we invite you to keep following, keep being in the loop with the series of National Youth Parliaments, because after Spice Mass, there will be the continuation of it. St. John's on the card, no doubt. St. John's Parish Youth Parliament and all the other parishes, of course, will be brought to the fore relative to this kind of undertaking. So, again, thanks, and I'm Ken Baptiste. Until next time, have a very good one. Goodbye.